Hello again and welcome. Remember, what I'm doing in this series is discussing the content of my book, Who Can or Will Save Nigeria? Entire Brigade of Technocrats, to help you decide whether it's worth your money and your time. So, chapter 5 now. I'll do a quick rundown of chapter 5 and if I'm able to, chapter 6 as well. So, chapter 5 is divided into 6 sections. In 5.1, I discussed I titled it lack of structure. So what I did here was to do a breakdown of the fact that Nigeria is lacking in structure, administrative structure. Though the Nigerian government employs a large number of, I don't know the figure, I did look, but even National Bureau of Statistics couldn't give a figure. While National Bureau of Statistics does its best, there's still a lot more that the institution can do, especially in relation to its website. It helped me. I was able to snatch a lot of statistics and data from there, but the website is not intuitive enough. It's still quite basic and a lot. But I know they do their best. I know that particular institution does its best within the little resource that it has. So I'm not faulting them. So let me stick to what I want to discuss. Lack of structure. Nigeria as a country lacks administrative structure, and this is reflective in virtually all that happens in governance in the country. At federal level, at state level, the lack of this structure is glaring. I mean, you just need to walk into any government agency, maybe civil service, I mean, you go to the court, go to the court and you see that there is no proper structure, nothing. It's rather unfortunate, but then the reason why this has become like everybody seems to be comfortable with it is because we've been this way for very long. We've been this way since forever. We've been this way since forever. So that's what I did in 5.1. Show the implication of a lack of structure. Show how a lack of structure impacts everything negatively. In 5.2, which I titled Lean Structures Digitizing Government Services. So yeah, after having established in 5.1 the negative impact of lack of structures does, I then go on to present what ICT will do, that's information communication technology, why government needs to be digitized, because it would make government smart. All right, government will become smart, nimble, and service delivery will be possible. Right now, it's non-existent. The civil service is not there in Nigeria, is not there to deliver service to citizens. They are there to fill their belly. They go pari passu with the political figures. or the oligarchic figures who run things in this country and see to it how between them they can share what belongs to all Nigerians. That's what the civil service is for in Nigeria today. So I basically just argued for lean structures. I showed that I know sometimes part of the reason why change is resisted is because some, picture a scenario where you employ even small business where you employ 5 people, where they do everything manually. They write out receipts. All they do is done by hand, and then one day you go and bring computer. You will. Some of them, people can become nervous and be like, "Oh, does this mean our job is over?" But no, it just means your job description will likely change, because you still need people to run computers, to run ICT. These are some of the things that I discussed in 5.2, digitizing government services, because it becomes a win-win. Many of the functions within civil service, federal or state level in the country, are still manually done, and many retain these old methods and old ways of doing things because they fear they would lose their job. So that's essentially 5.2, lean structures, digitizing government services. Let me leave it at that. Let me move on to 5.3, where I discussed NNPC. I did a compare and 5.3 is titled NNPC, a compare and contrast exercise. So what I did was to compare NNPC with another company that has the same function as NNPC itself, but of a different country. Then, to know that country, get the book. 5.31, Norway, a modern day El Dorado. That's what I called. That's how I captioned 5.31. Then 5.4. What I did in 5.31. I mean, the sentence says it all. That's why I'm not explaining further. So 5.4, overhauling the imprudent monstrosity. NNPC needs overhauling. Anybody who denies that is a part of the problem Nigeria has. I know people have constantly argued that NNPC needs to be privatized, but it's beyond that. It's beyond just privatizing the place. The entire structure, because if you privatize it, which I think has already been, I'm not too sure about that. Don't let me say what I'm not sure of. NNPC needs to be overhauled. That's what I argued in 5.4. Then in 5.4, I discussed knowledge-based economy. I argued that, or I made the case for the need to, this ties back to some of what I discussed in 3.4, which is transcending the flaws of outdated educational structures. It's tied to 5.1 because overhauling the Nigerian tertiary institutions, the structure of it, would allow for the introduction of modules that are more fitting for the time. And in today's world, it is what you know that sells you, not what you learned in school. So, I mean, in Nigeria, much of what we learned can be done by computers today. You know, the regular things we study, accounting, biz admin, those are the popular things that many of us tend to study. And much of these functions can be carried out by computers. So, the entire world is moving to a place where jobs are being lost to machines. So what this means is we need to, many of us, all of us need to move up our game, you know, in terms of learning. We need to improve our skills and begin to learn those things that machines yet can't do. So what this suggests, the implication of this is we're being forced to expand our mind. You know, there has to be an expansion of the mind. We need to move away from the ideas that has currency, or the ideas that will have currency in a knowledge economy, are the ideas of mind. You know, your ideas is what will sell, because your ideas when they're novel, you know, is what you can sell to the world. So that's what 5.1 is about. That's what I discussed in 5.41. So chapter 6 now is only 3 sections. I only broke that down into 3 sections. 6.1 is a changing world, 6.2 is political chicanery, and then 6.3, man born ignorant. What I discussed essentially in chapter 6, as a matter of fact, the entire book was supposed to be 6 chapters, but as I was discussing this bit, which was supposed to be a small part of chapter 6, the final chapter, then when it was still in draft stage, I found that I could actually make this section then a whole chapter. So that's how chapter 6 came about. And I just essentially discussed social issues, you know, many of the social issues that are confronting us today. And many of them, I believe, stems from the world is changing, you know, and much of it can be traced to poor politicking. You know, it can be traced to the situation where politics has fallen to dogs. You know, in the past, I'm not saying the past was perfect or the men from the past are perfect, but when we begin to look at the quality of politicians, the quality of politicians internationally and locally, you know, when we contrast them to men of yore to what we have today, you'll see that the standards have, we've reduced the bar. Politics has become an all-comers game where just about anyone can just wade into it. The standard has been reduced to the point where right now, at least in Nigeria, we have charlatans of all stripes dominate Nigeria's political stratosphere. And that explains why the whole country is a basket case. Nigeria is a basket case. Nigeria is a basket case. Unless we're just in denial. Things are really, really, really bad. But I believe things are getting to this very worrying state, so that those who are enlightened elite among us will be forced to act. Will be forced to act. That's what I think is going on. So the whole of chapter 6. Is discussing social issues, like I said. So the world is changing, politics is going to the dogs, and 6.3, man born ignorant. Man is ignorant, yes, but not stupid. We were born ignorant. That's why we're expected to be taught by our elders, those our parents, older siblings, older siblings, and those around us who know more as young children until, of course, we become adults ourselves, and then and the cycle continues. You also then teach others. But one thing that has gone on, certainly in Nigeria and really everywhere else in the world, but mostly on the African continent, mostly with Africans, is the fact that that chain of continuity, that chain of impacting wisdom, that tradition of teaching the younger ones has since been broken. Older people don't teach younger people anything these days. Younger people also don't even listen to their elders and those who are older than them because they think they know everything. In the past, that chain existed. Today, it's been severed. Even when it existed, of course, young people would always be rebellious. That's not what I'm talking about here. Young people would always feel they know everything. That happens with every young person. What I'm talking about is that chain, that cord of continuity from one generation to another. It's since been broken among Africans. We don't have it. Older people don't teach younger people. Younger people don't listen at all, have no regard, have no respect. And I think this is due to the fact that most old people don't have, younger people don't listen to them because for some strange reason, once people reach a certain age, once they start working and they start having children, they think they need to stop learning. That whatever they learn has to be about their jobs. So what happens is they're no longer knowledgeable. So they can't teach younger people. When younger people ask them questions, they don't give answers that they can't give answers that are realistic because they don't even know. But that's not how we're supposed to live. You learn till you drop. You learn till your very last breath. You're learning. So a lot of older people can't teach younger people new things because they've truncated, they've stopped growing, they've stopped learning. But one error they now make is they want to force whatever archaic things they know, things that are no longer realistic. You still want to force it down and teach it as fact. Young people will rebel against that. So in essence, what I'm saying is, you don't stop learning if you want to continue to remain relevant in the lives of those who love you and care about you, especially young people who look up to you. You must feed your mind on a daily basis. But the only things Nigerians love to feed their minds on is religious text, and it's quite telling, and it's the reason why a lot of Nigerians can't a lot of Nigerians actually don't even understand how the real world works. They don't. There are 3 subjects essentially that a person, male, female, should continue to learn about, improve upon, whether it's your interest or not, until you die: politics, economics, and philosophy. PPE. Philosophy, politics, economics. Why? Because these 3 subjects govern the whole of existence. So you should always read up on this subject. It's how you stay relevant, such that when your young child comes to ask you that, mommy, daddy, uncle, aunt, when they come and ask you a question, because their questions would usually border on these 3 subjects. Why is the Nigerian currency so weak? I've got friends who complain about Nigeria depreciating every day. Yes, because they have to pay school fees. Yes, but they don't know why that is happening. They all just go, oh, it's Buhari. You know, I hear that a lot, and I'm thinking, well, it's his policies, yes, but you can't even effect change when you don't even understand the salient issues, when you don't understand the fundamentals. So I'll see you in the next clip where we'll discuss the final chapter.